Video that's intended for the use of a local photo club that I'm in. So they just wanted to see my flow of bringing photos in from a camera into Lightroom to its resting place to help maybe their understanding and come up with their own flow. Now, my flow is by no means created by me. This comes from watching many hours uh, of videos from Tim Gray, Jarrett Platt, Dave Cross, and other very smart people that use Lightroom extensively, and they really need Lightroom to be quick, and that's the whole idea of the workflow. You want your workflow to be streamlined as much as possible, get rid of steps that are unnecessary. And remember, Lightroom is a tool for organizing, editing, and sharing your pictures. It's not a tool to store your pictures. Lightroom does not store a single picture. All it does is point to wherever you have your picture stored. Also show you something here that this is my catalog on the left of what's ready in Lightroom, and all these images are there, March 2nd. And then my SD card that we're going to import from is actually the same picture. The name's different, but the picture's identical, and that's kind of important when we talk about something in the future. So let's go ahead and get started here. We'll come over here and we'll hit import, and you'll see the pictures already exist in there. We'll hit import. We'll pick the source card, and then there they are. So that's what's going to be imported. Now, when you have to pick your source card and destination. That's what we're saying. Lightroom doesn't do anything that you don't want it to do. If you just open up Lightroom and you haven't done anything else, it's going to have a default place here, but you just change that to whatever works for you. In this case, I have it to an external drive. When you bring in pictures, you can either copy the picture from an SD card or copy it as a DNG. The difference here is Lightroom, when you make modifications to your camera raw file, it will create a sidecar. Basically, it's the information of metadata that you set to it or anything else. The copy as DNG takes your camera raw file and that sidecar, which is an XMP, and it just merges it together. It saves you, they say, about 20% of storage space, which to me is not that big of a deal. And probably about 75% of all the videos I watch, the professionals don't use it, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with using it. What it does, by not using it, just makes it easier if you ever want to share just the camera raw file. So when I was doing this video, I took my pictures here. You'll see that they have the XMP files from the metadata and other things that I've done to the files. It was easy for me to just grab the camera raw files and put them onto the SD card. If you do, I don't know, photojournalism, and they always want the raw file, or you need to prove it's a raw file, that it wasn't doctored, it's a lot easier doing this way. You can still do it with the DNG, but it's easier doing it this way. And DNG is so much of a standard that even some cameras will include it in how you can capture pictures. I know Pentax, for one, their camera raw format is, I think, .pet, but they'll actually let you save it also as a .dng. So it is an Adobe proprietary format that is pretty much a standard, and so much that some cameras will let you save it like that. So that's completely up to you how you want to do it. Over here, when I import, I like to do standard previews, so I don't have to wait. It will do all the previews for everything I import, so I can just cycle through real quickly instead of waiting for them to be built. I normally have do not import suspected duplicates, but like I said, even though the name is different, Lightroom's pretty smart, and it knows that it's the same picture, so it just grays it out. I can't even check it. But so in this case, it will be unchecked just for this tutorial purpose. Make a second copy too. None of the pros use it, and here's kind of the concept behind that. When you bring in pictures, if you send it to two places, it's better than only one, right? You have some protection. But for disaster recovery, it really doesn't do much for you. Most disaster recoveries, you have three copies, or two copies of the image, but 3 hard drives. So you would bring it in and either use like a RAID setup, or you can use GoodSync, which is a $30 product. So when you bring a file in and put it to one hard drive, it automatically will sync the other hard drives so they're mirror images. Then periodically, whatever works for you, you take the second copy and you take it off site and you hook up a new one, and then the good sync or the RAID will mirror whatever's on your main drive over to that, and you just cycle through. So if you have a fire or somebody steals your stuff from your house, you always have your pictures stored up somewhere else. That's why the copy is make a second copy is not, it's better than nothing, but it's not really, I'd rather just do catalog backups. So you won't see many people using that. Add to collection, we won't talk about that. That's a whole nother video. When I bring in my pictures, I like to rename them, because most pictures, cameras take them, you get like some weird naming system, right? And that doesn't mean much to me. Again, this is from what the pros suggest. I do a custom setting where I get to pick a custom text for the name and then a sequence, and the sequence is 4 digits. Reason being is an example. When I went out and did pictures of eagles one day, I took like 1,400 pictures. And so you want to be able to have that custom text, and then you want your sequence to have enough to cover whatever your shoots would be. So it's done. Right here is where you put in the custom text. These are pictures from Huntington Beach, California, so I'll just name it that way. This is all whatever makes sense to you. Remember, Lightroom is a workflow, but the workflow has to make sense to you. So, and it starts with number 1, and then you'll see here that when I import them, the images will have this naming standard. During import, I don't do any development settings, and I just do basic metadata. And then I bring it in by date. Now, everything I've watched, there's really only 2 theories on this, that how to store, or how to store your indexes to be able to point for you to find it, and that is by date or by subject. When would you use by subject? If you were a wedding photographer, you may bring in your pictures, and wherever you tell it to store it, you'd want it stored, all of the Brown's wedding in one folder, all of the Smith's wedding in one folder, and stuff like that. That just makes more sense than by date, right? Because if you ever really want to do a quick look, you would not say, oh, when did they get married, right? And regardless of how you bring it in, you can always find that information. It's just what makes it quicker for you initially. Most of what I've watched in tutorials, they bring it in by date, and that's how I bring it in. And you'll see that it will go into a main folder. So in this case, it's going to put it in the 2014 year, and then it's going to put it into a subfolder that's year, date, year, month, and date. So it's going to bring in 35 pictures. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else on here. Sometimes I go outside of that standard, and you'll see that I have some pictures down here. So on my workflow, I like to know what's my pictures and what's somebody else's pictures, because I don't ever want to accidentally, definitely not purposely, post a picture and make it seem like it's mine when it's not. So an example here is our photo club, I brought in their pictures so I can share it, but all these right here pretty much are not my pictures, right? Inspiration is other people's pictures that I just store in Lightroom, and I look. So to go a little bit more on that, one of the trainings I saw is, how do you know what you want to take? What is it that really excites you? Well, somebody said, whenever you see a picture in a magazine, rip it out, hang it on your wall, and pretty soon you have a whole bunch of pictures on your wall, and you can start seeing, originally you don't know why you like it, but when you have a whole bunch of pictures there, you can start saying, oh, I know why I like it. I like it because the layout or the color or whatever. So that's what my inspiration folder is. When I'm out, Facebook or whatever, perusing around, I go, oh wow, that picture's really good. I may not necessarily know why I like it, but I kind of save it for inspiration, and then later I can go back and say, what is it that really makes it that I like these pictures? So or like the WeClick, they're not my pictures, but they're in there, so when we have a meeting, it's easy for me to show it. I just don't want to ever, and in those cases, when I import, up here, I would, instead of organizing it by date, I would put it into a folder, right? So all the by dates are my pictures, and everything else you can still do something else. So we will go ahead and import, and I'll copy, not copy as DNG. So first it will import all of my pictures, and because I picked build smart previews, after it imports the status bar up here, you'll see that it will start doing other stuff, right? So there's 3 bars. What it's doing is indexing and building smart previews and metadatas and building sidecars or anything it has to do from your options on the left hand side. So here are the 35 pictures I just brought in. So the next part of the workflow, and this is Ray's workflow, and I can give you some reasoning behind it and what the pros were talking. So the workflow is bring your pictures into Lightroom, identify the ones that you like or what you want to do something with, and then share them, right? So they're all here, and I have to go through and identify what I want to do with each picture. Some people do a pick, right? I like it, I don't like it. Here's why most of the pros will not use the picks, because that metadata is not saved. If you export it or whatever, or you copy it, it doesn't save pick flags. So pick flag is really the same as 1 star or no stars. So if all you're doing when you do your pictures is I like the picture, I don't like the picture, you can use stars. And that way, if you have to export it to some other application, it will keep that information. To me, the workflow is I bring the picture in all the way to the possibility of printing it, right? And so you can use stars or colors. I used to originally do colors, and it didn't work. Because later when I go, well, what's a yellow, what's a green, what's a red, stuff like that. And I'm still in the midst of cleaning up my Lightroom, because now that I know my workflow, the only time I use red is when I'm going through. If I look at the first picture and it's just garbage and I want to delete it, it gets marked red. So I can then go later and say, show me all the reds and delete them. The stars are very simple. When I look at a picture, it's either red. There, all the previews were built. It's either red for delete, or I'm going to keep it. And when I keep it, it automatically is 0 stars. When I look at my first picture, if I think that I want to do something with that picture, I would give it 1 star, right? Or so in here, I'll just go through. Nah, don't really like that picture. Don't really like that picture. Well, I'll give that a 1 star. Yeah, and I don't want green. So 1 star, 1 star. No. Kind of like that silhouette. No. Kind of like that. Like that. Like that a little bit. Like, and you see how quick I can just go through here and go, 1. So now I made a quick view. Of course, there's only 35 pictures, but I've done this with hundreds, and it goes actually pretty quick. So now I have to look at everything that says, there's a possibility, right? So I want to look at all my pictures that are 1 star or more. There. Now, 1 star means I need to think about it. 2 stars, when I go through the second time, means that I'm willing to put some time into editing the picture, right? So I'll go through here again. It's the only picture of my wife and I, so yeah, I've got to try to save it. And maybe I'll try to do something with that. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Kind of like that one more. And yes, right? So now I know that these pictures I have left, I need to modify, I need to edit in Lightroom. But I'm only down to 7 pictures now. So at this point, I would take the pictures and go into the development module and make my modifications. Let's pretend I did all my modifications. the next thing I do, what gets a 3-star? A 3-star says I'm willing to share it with people, right? It's good enough that I can put it out on Facebook or put it on my blog or my web page or whatever it is. But that means it got a 3-star. So let's say I edited all this stuff and now I'm going back through and saying, okay, I've edited it, but what am I willing to share, right? So that one I may share on Facebook, right, to friends. Um, that one definitely shared Facebook, and that one's kind of a cool picture, so I'll share on Facebook. That's all I got. So now I am up to my 3 stars, and these are everything that I shared. So what's a 4-star? A 4-star means I'm going to print it. So I want to hang this, frame this in my room. Um, that would get a 4-star, and that's the process. And you see how quick that went. So why do I do the stars? Why is it better to do stars than colors? Stars just make more sense, right? 3 is always more than 2. 4 is always more than 3. Colors, to me, does not make sense. This is a workflow that it really has to work for you. You shouldn't copy somebody else's workflow unless it makes sense to you. You just understand why they did it so then you make your own. The other thing too is, why is this workflow that way? Well, we recently said we want you to share all your 2 of your best pictures from 2015, right? Well, so I have 6,700 pictures in 2015. How do I know what 2 pictures I want to share in 2020 from 2015? Well, I probably want to share ones that I printed, right? If I printed it, it's a 4-star. So now really quickly I come up here and say, what 2 pictures do I want to share with the club? And that's the whole purpose of a workflow, is to put stuff in there so it makes sense to you. So when you need to take it out, you can take it out quickly. Okay, that's about it. Hope this helps, and have a good day.